Hello, everyone. This is the most magnificent bird, Beak, speaking to you today. And in today's video, I'm back at it with some more raids. And yeah, I know right now there isn't a raid tournament right now. It'll probably be tomorrow. But I'm not only going to do raids, I'm also going to be going into my spoiler review of The Walking Dead, Daryl, Dixon, the season finale, episode titled Coming Home. So, I figured, you know what, I might as well at least give you guys 6 raids, just for the heck of it. And don't worry, if you don't want to know anything, you will be absolutely safe from all spoilers. And before we get started, I hope all of you are doing good and staying safe out there. I'm doing good and I'm staying safe for the most part. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. And let's go ahead and jump into raiding with me, shall we? Maybe I'll just turn this up a little bit. Okay, hopefully that's not too loud. Forsaken Michonne is an absolute beast on the battlefield. Absolutely. I love her. She does the damage. Absolutely. I just have to wonder, has anyone else, if you haven't bought any of the jack-o'-lanterns, that is, I wonder, has anybody gotten even one copy of the Wolfman Dwight without spending? Because I know I haven't, and I haven't missed anything, so, I don't know. If I'm, you know, if I'm not the only one that hasn't missed anything and still doesn't even have a copy without buying the jack-o'-lanterns, let me know if you're doing it strictly free to play and you still haven't received Dwight. If I'm thinking correctly, I didn't miss anything and I still don't have a copy of him quite yet. I'm at 275 jack-o'-lanterns, so another 75 and I'll have my first copy. So, because I believe that's the next milestone, I believe, on the submissions. You get another 75 jack-o'-lanterns or Halloween candies and you can get the first copy. I don't think I'm missing anything. Maybe I'm just thinking that I missed something and I haven't, and it's just the way the event is running, but it feels like I've missed something. Oh man, see, I wish I would have. We should still have it, but man, I wish I would have attacked with Wanderer first. Nah, we gotta get you out of here, Kenny. I don't know, I feel like I'm going crazy thinking that I missed a whole bunch of stuff, and that's why I don't have any Dwights right now, the Wolfman Dwight, but I haven't missed anything, but I think the game is tricking me into thinking that I missed a whole bunch of stuff. But, I don't know. Like I've stated, I'm not planning on spending any more money on the game. So, for those that have spent for the jack-o'-lanterns or the Halloween candies, I'm sure you've already gotten at least one, maybe 2 copies of him. But for those that are doing the event strictly free to play, let me know. Are you in the same situation I am as far as not getting a copy of Wolfman Dwight quite yet? Or did I just miss something and not realize it? Because I really don't have any idea. I'm assuming that I've done everything I'm just thinking that I've done everything I'm supposed to, and I just haven't gotten him yet because I haven't bought any jack-o'-lanterns. So that's just what I'm thinking. But maybe I missed something. I'm not sure. But I'm sure there will be a third mini event that's going to be coming up probably pretty soon, because the witch hats are getting ready to end. I forget the name exactly of it, but that one's getting ready to end within the next 20 some hours or less. So, okay, that is going to do it for rating with me, and I'm getting ready to get into my spoiler review of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Season 1, Episode 6, Homecoming, which is the season finale, which kind of sucks because I've really enjoyed this spinoff, and absolutely, I think this is, without a doubt, the best spinoff. I mean, Dead City was good too, but me personally, I much prefer the Daryl Dixon spinoff and where it's going. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for, I'm looking forward to Dead City, but I'm a little bit more on Daryl Dixon's spinoff personally. But yeah, so if you don't want to know anything, this is the time to go ahead and click off the video, and I do thank you for your time, and I will catch you next time. And for those that want to stick around and hear me go over the spoiler review and hear my thoughts on it, you're more than welcome to stick around if you want to. So, in 3, 2, 1, here is my spoiler review of the season finale of the Daryl Dixon spinoff of Season 1. One thing I did forget to mention yesterday, and this is going to be significant, when Daryl is contacting Carol, on the radio in last week's episode, he does mention that he's in Maine, and that's going to be important. I'll get to it when I get to it, but I did forget to mention that last week, that he's in Maine, and Carol knows that, so that's going to be important. Okay, so the episode starts with what I assume is a World War II flashback, maybe World War I, I'm not sure, it's either one of them, more likely the second one, but yeah, there's a flashback of soldiers that are dead on the beach with gunshot wounds. And it's confusing at first, but it makes a little bit more sense when we get into the episode. So that's how the episode starts. Then we pick right back up with Daryl coming up against that variant walker, and he swings the weapon. Daryl dodges out of the way, and he ends up stabbing the walker with the axe weapon that he was given. And he pins the walker up against the wall, but the walker is able to easily slide his way out of the weapon, which is insane. So Daryl ends up going for a flagpole. There just happens to be 2 flags in the little arena that they're in. So he ends up grabbing one of the flagpoles, and he ends up stabbing the walker in the head with the flagpole. And obviously Jeanette, or Gannett, Gannett, whatever, you know, I think I've been just calling her Jeanette, but I mean, her name starts with a G, but anyway, Jeanette, Gannett, whatever, same person I'm talking about. Jeanette, she's pissed off sitting in her chair up above, obviously, and the people were booing. So the people that brought out Daryl and Walker, they come back out, but this time they bring Quinn. Interesting, yeah, they bring out Quinn, and you know, when Daryl's fighting the one Walker, you know, Isabel, she's praying, you know, dear Lord above, you know, please let Daryl be safe, and, you know, let him be alright. And Laurent is like, Isabel, or Izzy, you ain't, you know, you don't have nothing to worry about. Daryl, he's got this, he's a badass. I mean, he doesn't say that last part, but I mean, come on. Daryl is badass. We all know it. But anyway, so Laurent was right, of course, and so that's when they bring Quinn out, and then they have 4 or 5 walkers that they bring out in separate little sections of the arena. And at first it seems like Daryl and Quinn are going to have to fight to the death, but no, they're meant to team up to take out the walkers, which is pretty interesting, knowing their little, you know, little short feud that they've been, you know, having, especially when Daryl kicked his ass in, what was it, episode 4? Yeah, when he kicked his ass in episode 4, so they have to team up to take out the walkers. There's about, I want to say 4, I don't think it's quite 5, I think it's about 4 of them. So, you know, Jeanette or Gannett's men, they shoot the walkers with the syringes, and, well, one of the walkers that they shoot with one of the syringes, the walker's head starts bleeding, he starts spazzing out, and his head pops like a watermelon, and yeah, that's not supposed to happen. So I don't know if somebody intentionally sabotaged the experiment, or if the experiment didn't quite go right before they just didn't test it. I'm maybe thinking, I'm leaning towards maybe the syringe was sabotaged, and that's why that happened to the walker's head, why it popped like a watermelon. And Jeanette's like looking, you know, she's looking real pissed at the scientist, and I don't know, maybe he didn't quite get it right. Not sure. It could have been self-sabotage, and he's not even sure himself. So that happens, and then they release one walker, and then, you know, he gets on Quinn, and Quinn fights him off, but, you know, they kind of cut away before he gets him off of him, which will be kind of important. They release another walker, and then the one walker, he actually jumps on another walker, and he's tussling. This one walker is tussling with this other walker to the point where the one walker rips his lower jaw completely off, and I was like, holy shit, no way, we have never seen nothing like that. And again, I don't know if it was the experiments that went wrong, or if it was self-sabotage. It could be either or. So yeah, there's a walker that completely just completely messes up that one walker by ripping his lower jaw completely off, which is bad shit crazy. Oh man, I've never seen anything like it before. So they take care of that one walker, and there's a walker, it might be the same walker that did that to the one walker's jaw. He's got this metal helmet on his head, and it looks like they maybe ironed, I don't know if they like fused the metal it seems like they fused the metal helmet to his head, so they can't quite stab him in the head. So Daryl and Quinn work together, you know, because both of them are chained up together, and they both pull their chains. They have the chain wrapped around the necker. Oh my goodness. They both have the chain wrapped around the walker's neck. There we go. I'm speaking English now. They have that chain wrapped around his neck, and they both pull, and they pop his head off. And that one walker, it looks like someone had sharpened the walker's teeth to be like, to almost look like shark teeth or some kind of, which is like, I know Greg Nicotero was behind that. You know, Greg Nicotero, he does a great job with all of the Walker makeup and all that good stuff. So, but as far as who supposedly done that in the show, how they got bit, I don't know. But yeah, they had sharpened the Walker's teeth to look like shark teeth or something like that, which is crazy. Like, who thinks of doing that? Like, I know there's one character in one of the Hunger Games movies that ends up getting her teeth sharpened so she can bite people's throats out, but this ain't about Hunger Games. Back to The Walking Dead. But to do that to a walker, that's absolutely crazy. And then Daryl, he picks up the walker head and throws it right up at Jeanette. And then we can obviously see, you know, she's pissed off because as soon as they take that walker out, the crowd is chanting for Daryl Dixon, and that makes her even more mad than she already is, because the episode before, they were cheering for her, but then Daryl, he puts on this performance, and all of a sudden, hey, they're cheering for him instead of her, and she, you know, she ain't having it. So they, you know, they're standing up there, I mean, they're standing down there looking up at them, and Jeanette orders her men to kill Daryl and Quinn. Then that's when Daryl and Quinn get saved by Falou, because Falou, Sylvie, and that other guy that Sylvie is falling for, I can't remember his name, but whatever, they're there, and how they got in there, I don't know. It seems like they snuck in there. That's a little bit more clear, because it looked like maybe they were held prisoner. Maybe they got captured, but they weren't handcuffed or anything. So yeah, they ended up sneaking in there, and all hell's breaking loose. Daryl and Quinn, they go one way. Jeanette and Stefan and her men go one way, and you know, the whole crowd, they're freaking out because, hey, he was shooting some of her men so they wouldn't kill Daryl and Quinn. I mean, it was evidently to save Daryl, but Quinn just happened to be there by lucky coincidence. So yeah, Jeanette is mad at the people cheering for Daryl, which I already mentioned. And this is when Jeanette says, we gotta find out how those treacherous roaches got in here. And that's pretty much when she orders her men, you need to find out. And she tells Stefan that you need to find Daryl, the American. And that's when she asks Stefan, you know, do you want your revenge? And he says yes. So he's like, y'all are gonna take Stefan with y'all. So they go and do that. And let's see, Isabel and Laurent, while all that craziness is happening, Jeanette goes to take Isabel and Laurent back to a cell, back to the same cell that Daryl, to the same cell that Daryl was locked in. And Laurent tries something stupid, and he's freaking out. But you know, honestly, they could have killed him there, which luckily they didn't. But he was stupid in that moment. He should have just went into the cell without freaking out. Isabel, she knew better than to try something stupid, because they probably would have shot her right then and there. But they go in the cell, and she's like, what are you thinking? You know, they could have killed you. You shouldn't have tried that. And Laurent says something very interesting. You know, he says that maybe God has abandoned us, which that's very interesting for him to say that. Yeah, that's definitely maybe potential. They'll explore more into that. Maybe he's gonna slowly lose his faith heavily into God. Maybe. I mean, that's definitely very interesting for him to say that, because before that he believed, like, you know, he believed heavily into God, but him saying that, you know, that's pretty interesting. And that's when Isabel, you know, they're locked up, and Isabel, she had pickpocketed one of the guards who had the key to their cell, and she just goes and unlocks the cell, and they end up getting out pretty easily. So it's probably good that Isabel knew how to pickpocket. You know, she didn't have to really use that until this particular moment. So, yeah. Okay, so let's see. Isabel and Laurent are roaming around trying to get out. And then, you know, you have Jeanette's men looking for Daryl and Quinn. And then once Quinn and Daryl are hiding, Daryl notices that Quinn has either a bite mark or a scratch mark on his shoulder. You know, Quinn tries to brush it off and say, oh, it was just a burn mark from that one walker that grabbed him. But I don't know if he bit him or scratched him. It was probably a bite mark. And so there you go. Quinn ends up, yeah, he ends up getting killed. There you go. But before he ends up getting killed, you know, Daryl says that, you know, can you give Isabel and Laurent time to get away by, like, you know, making sure that Jeanette's men are on you, pretty much? And he agrees to it. And Daryl says, like, I need to get free, so yeah, I gotta cut your hand off. And surprisingly, Quinn, he agrees to that as well. So Daryl ends up cutting his hand off so he can get free. And that's when Quinn runs towards a couple of Jeanette's men, and, well, we don't see him again until he's in his walker form. So there you go. Quinn at least he did something honorable there at the end. I'll go ahead and say that, because he bought Isabel and Laurent time to make sure that, you know, Jeanette's men were focused on Quinn instead of trying to, you know, find them two, you know, because, I mean, they assumed that they were locked up, but still. So that was an honorable thing that he did. I'll give him that. So Daryl, he goes off and he tries to find Daryl, I should say, Daryl goes off to try to find Laurent and Isabel. And that's when he ends up running into Isabel and Laurent, but there's a gate in front of them. That's when Walker Quinn ends up coming toward them two, and, you know, Quinn, he's on Isabel trying to bite her, and, you know, Daryl tells Laurent, look, you need to save her, you know. So he gives Laurent his axe, the axe that was given to him. And Laurent, he's all slow, like, you know, Isabel could have gotten bit, she could have got killed. He's all slow, like, and, you know, Daryl says, you need to save her, you know, God will forgive you. And he takes his time, but he ends up saving Isabel by putting down Walker Quinn. Gotta give him that. He was able to do it, but I mean, he was really slow about it, so there you go. And before that, Daryl ends up running into Falou, and they end up freeing him from his shackle, you know, where he cut Quinn's arm off, or hand off. He's able to get free from his own shackle. That's when he goes to try to find Isabel and Laurent. So Daryl, Isabel, Laurent, Falou, you know, all of them, they end up making it out, and they find this car that happens to be there, and Falou ends up getting it working for them long enough for them to be able to escape from Jeanette's place. So they're on the road. Daryl, Isabel, Laurent, and Sylvie, they're on the road, and the vehicle breaks down, and Daryl's gonna take a look at it and see what's wrong. But I mean, the vehicle's so old, so it, you know, it's not too surprising that it broke down. And that's when, you know, Daryl and Isabel are talking, and that's where that flashback at the beginning kind of comes up again. That you know, that all of a sudden flashback, like, what's this? Daryl, he talks about his grandfather fighting in the war, which I'm assuming was maybe World War II. That makes sense for the flashback. So they're talking, and Daryl's like, you know, Daryl asks Isabel something, and then all of a sudden she quits talking, and he's like, Isabel, you know. Then he goes to see what's up. That's when Stefan and Jeanette's men end up finding them. And this wrench that Isabel was supposed to hand Daryl, you know, Stefan, he ends up hitting Daryl across the face with it, like, oof, like, it's a big wrench too. And then that's when, you know, that's when Stefan, he pulls his gun on Daryl, and by this point, you know, Stefan reveals why he wants to kill Daryl. Stefan believes that Daryl killed his brother, which sucks. He was going to kill his brother, but he never did, because that little wench from the first episode lied on Daryl. So that's how that whole thing got started. So there you go. So now Daryl knows why the hell Stefan wants to kill him, because Stefan believes that Daryl killed his brother when that was never the case, which sucks on both fronts. So Jeanette's men and Stefan have Daryl, Isabel, Sylvie, Laurent all at gunpoint, and they even stab Isabel in the shoulder, which, whoa, you know, like, damn, but she'll be fine. It was like a paper cut, pretty much. But anyway, Jeanette's, one of her lieutenants, Jeanette's not there, but one of Jeanette's lieutenants, damn, I don't know why I can't say that word, but one of Jeanette's lieutenants tells Stefan, you know, you need to kill the boy, we need to kill all four of them. And when Stefan hears that, he does have the gun pointed at Laurent, then, surprise, he ends up killing Jeanette's men instead, which, I gotta say, that was a hell of a surprise. Like, and we're thinking, whoa, wait a minute, why did he do that? He was sworn on pure revenge against Daryl, but when he's got the opportunity to kill Daryl, he doesn't. He kills Jeanette's men, and he says, not today, Dixon, next time, and he leaves all four of them, and we'll pick back up with Stefan in a little bit. And the reason he did that is, yeah, we'll get to it, but yeah, he ends up leaving them alive, and they proceed to make their way to the nest. Now, we're going to get back to Stefan, and he goes back to Jeanette and tells this story that that they overwhelmed them, that they just happened to conveniently kill all of her men and left him alive. And this is the reason that he killed her men, because when they told him to kill Laurent, he couldn't bring himself to do it. So instead of listening to them, he figured he would kill them instead, which, wow, okay. I mean, he's got some kind of, Stefan's got some kind of morals that he won't cross, which I will give him props for that. It sucks he still believes that Daryl killed his brother, even though he didn't, but I'll definitely give that to Stefan. He's got some kind of moral that he will not cross. He's a rare character in all of Walking Dead that just, he just won't kill a child, which I'll definitely give him that. And Jeanette doesn't believe his story, so they end up beating him up, and I'm assuming that they take him to a jail cell back in her place. And Jeanette says something about she used to work in a art museum. So I don't know if she was actually like part of the elite, or if she was actually just an ordinary citizen. And then, the apocalypse happened and she took advantage. But, okay, so this is where Stefan messed up. One of two options. He shouldn't have even went back to Jeanette. He should have just went on and lived his own life. But him going back to Jeanette, if he wanted to tell that story, which he did partially tell the truth, he just, when they told him that he needed to kill the boy, he didn't want to kill the boy, so he killed them instead. But he didn't tell her that part. What he could have done to make his story a little bit more believable, he should have injured himself. I don't know if whether, like, stabbing himself, something. He should have injured himself somehow, maybe shot his leg or something. He just came back untouched, without a scratch. That's where he messed up. He should have injured himself to make his story seem more believable, but I still don't know if she would have believed him, but that would have made him somewhat smarter. But yeah, Jeanette's on to him, so that's the end of their, that's the end of them for this season. So Isabel, Daryl, Laurent, Sylvie, they all make it to the nest, and when they get to the nest, they're all the residents of the nest, they're all waiting there. They're celebrating that Laurent has gotten there. They believe that he's the Messiah and all this crap, of course. And their leader, Lo Sang, I want to believe his name is, he actually is a pretty decent person. And, he tells Daryl, hey, you helped them get here. You kept up your end of the deal, so I'm going to keep my part of the deal, and I'm going to get you a boat to get out of here so you can get back home. Which he does honor his word about having a boat. He tells them, you gotta leave at sunset, not sunset, but you gotta leave before the sun rises at a certain time to go a certain distance, and then, you gotta wait for the boat. He tells them where to go and what time to leave. So he's only got to wait like 2 days before the boat will get into the vicinity. So when them 2 days are up, yeah, Daryl, he's out of there. He actually does leave. And he's left the nest to go in the direction of the boat. And as he's traveling closer to the boat, in the path of the boat, there are all of these graves, for soldiers that have died. And I'm assuming that's going back to the flashback that was in the episode earlier at the very beginning, because Daryl, he's he stumbles upon all of these white graves that are, you know, the crosses that are, you know, representing fallen soldiers in war. So he ends up going to all of them, and he's trying to find his grandfather's grave. And yeah, he ends up finding William Dixon. I believe that was his name. So he ends up finding his grandfather's grave. And it's very interesting because earlier he was always saying, you know, Daryl was always saying, you know, why people fight in these wars. He's like, I just don't. He pretty much says, you know, I don't get it. You know, people are going to be fighting so long that they forget what the cause is for. And he just feels so unaffected by it. But once he's actually right there in front of his grandfather's grave, it hits him and he starts tearing up a little bit, which is like, wow. I guess he needed to actually see his grandfather's grave to find out, to just like feel a different type of way about it. And it just like hits him that, okay, damn, there's the final resting place of one of my family members that died so long ago. And it just, it hits him. And so he keeps on going, and the boat is coming his way, and then all of these walkers, they show up. So we have a walker killing montage, and he ends up taking out a couple of them, but I think there's about 20 or more there. I mean, there's a lot of walkers even for him to having to take on, and they all look like normal walkers, but they're just coming from all different directions. And then, what do you know? Laurent, he ends up finding Daryl, and he's like, hey, Daryl, you know, and then Daryl turns around, and so Daryl is like looking toward the boat, and he's looking back at Laurent, and he's like, you know, if you've ever played one of those games where you have a big important decision to make, do you go this way, or do you go right down the path of good, or do you go down the path of bad? I'm just using that as an example. He's like you got one way, you're going to go one way to make one decision. You got the other way to go and make another decision. And, well, he ends up deciding to stay in France because I think a part of him feels somewhat guilty for leaving Laurent, even though it isn't technically his responsibility or his worry about Laurent, even though, you know, he's got people back home. And I think him finding his grandfather's grave, I think that might have ultimately affected his decision on staying, because he was like, you know, earlier, he's like, why do people bother fighting in these wars? And, you know, once he saw the grave of his, the final resting place of one of his family members, it like hits him. It like immediately just like hits him, and you can even see him tear up. And I think that ultimately affected his decision to end up staying. And then plus they announced a season 2. So there you go. And that's going to about do it. Let me make sure I didn't forget anything else, which I don't think I did. No. Okay, we got one more little section. So that's the last we're going to see of Daryl in the season finale, because we're going to pick back up where... We're going to pick back up in that little area in Maine where this guy, he has Daryl Dixon's bike. It's definitely Daryl Dixon's bike, but some guy rides it, and then all of a sudden he's just driving down the road with his bike, and then all of a sudden there's this car that just pulls up behind him, and the car is getting closer and just gaining on him, and he's trying to outrun the car. And he ends up shooting the car, the front grille of it, and the guy ends up stopping, and he tells whoever it is that's driving the car to get out and put their hands up. So they open the door, and remember when I mentioned that Carol knows that he's in Maine? Well, this is Carol that came to Maine looking for Daryl, and, you know... she wants to know where you got that bike. And, like, I don't know if he's, you know, he just happened to be unlucky. And he said he traded some stuff for the bike back at that place where he got into the fight. So he tells Carol that, you know, you just go this one direction and, you know, that's where I got the bike from. So she's off hunting for Daryl. So there you go. That's how the season finale ends. Of course, she ends up knocking him out and tying him into the trunk of the car, and just like, you know, she pretty much says, you know, if you're lying, I won't be back. People just underestimate Carol, man. I mean, they really did. So, yeah, there we go. So, it seems like Carol is going to be in Season 2 of the Daryl Dixon spinoff. And I'm assuming that's going to happen next year. Maybe late next year, I'm assuming. And I believe it's got this weird title, like Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol, or something. I don't... Why they went with that title, I'm not sure. But yeah, that pretty much all but confirms that Carol is finally... She's going to finally make an appearance outside of the main series. And Daryl decided to stay in France. So, yeah, I pretty much very much enjoyed that season finale. I'm not sure how many of you liked the season finale, or maybe you were disappointed by it, but I just gotta say, I really loved it. But, again, you know, I did say that I'm a bit of a Daryl Dixon simp, so there you go. That's part of it, but if you were to ask me which spinoff I prefer, Dead City or the Daryl Dixon spinoff, so far, I'm gonna go with the Daryl Dixon spinoff. You know, I like Dead City, and the thing about Dead City is, you know, there's only one original character from Dead City that I actually am intrigued about, and it happens to be Marshall, oh man, see, I didn't forget his name, but the Marshall from New Babylon, that's the only original Dead City character that I'm even the least a bit intrigued about going into the second city of Dead City. Yeah, the second season of Dead City. But as far as original characters in Daryl Dixon, I just like a lot of them a lot more. And honestly, if Negan wasn't in Dead City, I don't know if I would have watched Dead City, to be honest with you. Because, I mean, Maggie sure in hell wasn't going to carry that show on her shoulders by herself. Nah, there's a reason Negan was in there. Like, let's be real. Let's be real. I mean, I even did a poll, and pretty much everybody agreed that, yeah, Negan absolutely carried that spinoff on his shoulders, on his back. Not a single person voted for Maggie. Not at all. Not to say that Maggie was bad in it, but how many people would have watched it if it was only focused on Maggie? Some people would have. Maybe I would have ended up watching it, probably, but I wouldn't have been as enthusiastic about it. Just saying, but I much prefer the Daryl Dixon spinoff 100% for sure. And I'm very, very excited for Season 2, especially now Carol's coming into the picture. Hell yes, give me more Daryl Dixon. Absolutely. I love the finale for sure. The finale is by far my favorite episode of the season for sure. Episode 5 is in second place, but I gotta give it to the finale as being the best episode in my opinion. And what are your thoughts on the Daryl Dixon spinoff? Did you like it as much as I did, or maybe you didn't like it as much? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know. And that's all I got for you guys for today. I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by and for your continued support. Or if you're new, welcome in for the first time. All of you are very awesome, and I thank you again. And don't forget to hit the bell and switch on all notifications so you know the second I upload to YouTube. I am Beak, and I'm gonna go fly away back to my nest. Until next time, bye guys.